Know what the hardest thing to do in this world is? To focus on yourself. When everyone around you keeps telling you how to live your life. We live in a world where silence is misunderstood and self-focus is called selfishness. But let me tell you this, silence isn't weakness, it's power. And focusing on yourself isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. Most people don't realize this until life hits them hard. You try to please everyone. You explain yourself again and again. You chase approval. You talk to convince others that your dreams matter. But they don't listen. They don't understand your vision because it's not theirs. And one day, you wake up and realize, the more you talk, the less people hear you. The more you share, the more they judge. And the more you try to be understood, the more you lose yourself. That's the moment you learn the value of silence. Silence doesn't mean absence. It means control. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop giving people power over your emotions. You stop feeding energy to things that don't deserve it. Because not everything needs your reaction. Not every comment needs your defense. Not every person needs your attention. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to say nothing and keep building in silence. You see, when you go silent, people get uncomfortable. They wonder what happened to you. They think you've disappeared, but you're not gone. You're just working quietly. You're growing, healing, upgrading, reinventing. You're focusing your energy on something that actually matters. And that's when life begins to change. Because when you start focusing on yourself, you start seeing what's been holding you back all along, your distractions, your people-pleasing habits, your fear of judgment. You realize you were pouring your energy into proving your worth instead of building it. You were chasing validation instead of inner peace. And when you stop all that, when you shift your attention from them to you, everything starts aligning. Suddenly you have clarity. You don't need to explain your moves anymore because your results will do that for you. You don't need to post your progress to prove your effort because your presence will speak louder than your posts. You don't need to fight for attention because your silence will demand it. The truth is, silence separates the average from the unstoppable. Average people need attention. Unstoppable people don't. They're too busy creating, too busy mastering their craft, too busy becoming the person they said they'd be. And when you focus on yourself long enough, people will start noticing. They'll say, you've changed, and you'll smile and say, I had to. Because growth requires silence. Change requires isolation. And transformation, it requires discipline. You can't heal when you're still explaining your pain to those who caused it. You can't rise while you're still waiting for someone to notice your wings. So, be silent. Focus on your routines. Focus on your health. Focus on your dreams. Focus on building a mindset that no one can shake. And watch how life begins to rearrange itself for you. People who drained your energy will slowly disappear. Opportunities that match your energy will start showing up. You'll look back one day and realize that silence wasn't loneliness. It was protection. It was your foundation being rebuilt from the inside out. Let me tell you something powerful. When you finally stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it quietly, the universe notices. Energy flows differently. Your circle changes. Your confidence grows. And the same people who ignored you will now want to know your secret. But you won't need to say a word because your peace will speak for you. Your progress will speak for you. Your discipline will speak for you. And that's what focusing on yourself truly means. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about redirecting your energy inward. It's about choosing yourself every single day, even when no one understands. So stop broadcasting every move. Stop explaining your silence. Stop oversharing your journey with people who haven't earned the right to hear it. Instead, work, heal, grow. Let your silence build your empire. Let your discipline design your destiny. And one day, the world will see what you were building in private. They'll see the glow, up the peace, the success. And they'll think it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. It happened in the silence. It happened when you stopped explaining yourself. It happened when you decided that your energy was sacred and you were done wasting it on things that didn't serve your growth. So here's the truth. If you want your life to change, stop talking about change. If you want peace, stop chasing chaos. If you want to evolve, stop seeking validation. Go quiet. Go build. And when you rise silently, because real power doesn't announce itself. It shows itself. And when it does, everyone will know. without you saying a single word. There's something profoundly misunderstood about silence. Most people look at a quiet person and assume weakness. They think silence means submission, that if you're not constantly speaking, defending, explaining, or proving yourself, you must have nothing to say. But silence, real silence, the kind that comes from self-control, is one of the most dangerous and powerful weapons a person can ever hold. It's not about the absence of words. It's about the presence of strength. It's about learning to master your emotions so completely that you no longer need to perform them for the world to see. Think about the moments when someone tried to provoke you. Maybe they insulted you, doubted you, or questioned your worth. The old version of you probably reacted, quick to defend yourself, desperate to correct their perception, needing to make them understand who you are. But every time you reacted, you gave them a piece of your power. You handed them control over your emotional state. You let their opinion shape your peace. That's what silence protects you from. It creates distance between you and the noise. A sacred space where your emotions can breathe before they explode into regret. When you choose silence, you choose discipline. You stop responding to every trigger, every rumor, every negative energy thrown your way. You begin to realize that your time and words are expensive, and not everyone can afford them. The world is full of people who speak loudly but say nothing, who argue constantly but never evolve. You don't need to be one of them. You don't need to prove your intelligence, your value, or your intentions to anyone who has already made up their mind about you. Because the truth is, the people who misunderstand you will keep misunderstanding you. No matter how many times you explain yourself, silence becomes your filter. It separates those who seek to understand from those who only seek to drain you. When you stop speaking for validation, your energy shifts. Suddenly, you don't feel the urge to broadcast your pain or narrate your growth. You become content with the quiet progress that no one applauds yet. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation for the way you choose to heal, or grow, or protect your space. That peace is addictive. It makes you calm in the face of chaos. You watch people argue, gossip, and project their insecurities. And instead of joining the noise, you stay still. You smile. You let silence do the heavy lifting. And here's the most beautiful part: silence makes people wonder. It unsettles those who once had power over you. They start asking questions like, why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they explaining? Because silence signals control. It tells the world, I don't need your approval anymore. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has finally realized that reacting is easy. Restraint is mastery. Anyone can shout back, but only the powerful can stay calm, focused, and unmoved. Silence also teaches you awareness. When you're quiet, you start to hear the things most people miss. You notice patterns in behavior, motives behind words, and the truth behind fake smiles. You see who truly values you and who only valued your attention. When you stop talking, people reveal themselves. Some will distance themselves because they can no longer feed off your energy. Others will come closer because they respect your calm. Either way, silence exposes everything. It's a mirror that reflects both others and yourself. In the stillness, you also reconnect with your own voice. Ironically, the quieter you become, the louder your inner guidance gets. You begin to hear what your intuition has been whispering beneath the noise all along. That not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your defense. Not every situation requires your presence. You learn to choose your responses wisely because you finally understand that silence doesn't lose arguments, it ends them. It doesn't erase your power, it magnifies it. The world will try to trick you into believing that silence equals insignificance, but the most powerful moves in history have been made quietly. Think of every person who transformed their life. It didn't happen when they were shouting about their plans. It happened when they went silent, when they turned inward, when they stopped explaining their dreams and started working on them in solitude. Silence is where transformation begins. It's the laboratory of growth, the workshop of greatness. And when you practice silence long enough, you start to feel a new kind of freedom. You no longer chase closure through conversation, you create closure through acceptance. You stop seeking justice from people who will never understand your pain. You stop wasting breath trying to change minds that are committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you reclaim your energy. You invest it back into yourself, into your peace, your craft, your goals, your healing. That's where the magic happens. That's where power begins to build quietly, like pressure beneath the earth. waiting for the right moment to erupt as undeniable success. People will notice that shift. They'll see the calm in your eyes, the discipline in your actions, and they won't know what changed. Some will call it arrogance, others will call it mystery. But you'll know what it is: control. You finally stopped playing defense in a game that never rewarded you. You stopped trying to win arguments that never mattered. You stopped giving explanations to people who didn't deserve your story. And in that stillness, you found something stronger than validation: self-respect. So yes, silence is power. It's a quiet kind of dominance that doesn't need to be announced. It's not about staying silent forever. It's about learning when to speak and when to hold your peace. Because once you master that balance, nothing can shake you. You become untouchable, not because you're louder, but because you're calmer. You become unstoppable, not because you shout more, but because you choose less. You become powerful, not by being unbothered, but by being unbothered. And that right there is the real meaning of strength, the kind that whispers instead of roars, yet moves mountains all the same. When you finally decide to focus on yourself, the entire rhythm of your life changes. It's not just about self-care or taking breaks. It's about redirecting all the energy you used to give away to people, situations, and distractions that never deserved it in the first place. You begin to see life differently, not as something that happens to you, but as something you create piece by piece through the quiet choices you make every single day. And for the first time, you stop chasing and start building. You stop begging for validation and start nurturing your own worth from the inside out. There comes a moment in everyone's life when you look around and realize that you've been running in circles. You've been chasing approval, affection, attention, waiting for someone to notice how hard you're trying, how much you're giving, how deeply you care. And yet, no matter what you do, it never feels enough. That's the moment of awakening. The moment you realize that all the time you spent trying to prove yourself could have been spent improving yourself. It hits hard because for years, you've been searching for something that was never outside of you. It was within you all along. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, it's survival. It's the realization that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that you cannot heal in the same place that broke you, and that you cannot rise if your energy is constantly being drained by trying to please others. You start to see that your peace, your clarity, and your purpose depend on one thing: your ability to give yourself the same energy you give everyone else. The moment you understand that, everything shifts. You wake up differently. You move differently. You stop living to be seen, and you start living to be fulfilled. You don't need to announce your goals. You work in silence. You don't need to prove your growth. It's visible in your actions. You start saying no more often, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for your own boundaries, because you've learned that protecting your peace is not optional. It's necessary. Every no becomes an act of self-love. Every boundary becomes a declaration of worth. When you focus on yourself, you begin to feel the weight of all the noise lifting off your shoulders. The world quiets down. Suddenly, the opinions of others don't carry the same power they used to. You no longer feel the need to defend every decision because you finally trust your own judgment. That trust is freedom. It's the kind of freedom that comes when you stop seeking permission to live the way you want. You realize that your path doesn't have to make sense to anyone else because it was never designed for them. It was meant for you. At first, it's lonely. Growth always is. You might lose people when you start prioritizing yourself. You'll lose friends who thrived on your constant availability, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries, and relationships that depended on your silence. But what you gain in return is far greater: peace, clarity, and strength. You start to attract what aligns with your energy instead of what drains it. You start meeting people who match your effort, respect your boundaries, and understand your silence. The universe rewards you for finally choosing yourself. And as you continue focusing inward, you begin to uncover parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. You discover passions that were buried under years of distractions. You remember dreams that you once thought were too big, too unrealistic, too far away. You start rebuilding your confidence from the ground up, and it feels different this time. It's not fragile or dependent on praise. It's rooted in self-awareness and discipline. You know what you want, why you want it, and what you're willing to do to get it. That kind of focus is unstoppable. The more you invest in yourself, the more life begins to mirror your inner transformation. Your habits improve, your energy sharpens, your mindset expands. You stop overreacting to negativity because you're too busy evolving. You stop doubting yourself because you've seen what happens when you commit to your own growth. You stop trying to fit in because you realize that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out through your discipline, your mindset, your silence. And here's what no one tells you. When you focus on yourself, your external world starts to rearrange itself. The right opportunities start showing up. The right people find you. The right doors open. It's not magic, it's alignment. Because when your inner world changes, your outer world has no choice but to follow. Your energy becomes magnetic. People start wondering what's different about you, but you don't explain because they wouldn't understand. They didn't see the nights you spent rebuilding your confidence. They didn't see the mornings you pushed yourself to grow. They didn't see the tears, the discipline, the courage it took to become who you are now. They only see the glow. Focusing on yourself teaches you that growth is quiet and personal. No one claps for you in the beginning. No one congratulates you for saying no to old habits or walking away from toxic patterns. It's lonely work, but it's sacred work. You build your strength in private, and one day, the world will see the version of you that silence created. The one who no longer explains, no longer chases, no longer doubts. This journey isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware. It's about realizing that everything you were seeking, validation, peace, clarity, happiness, was never missing, it was misplaced. And when you redirect that search inward, when you choose to nurture yourself with the same energy you once gave away so easily, you find something extraordinary. You find peace that doesn't depend on people, confidence that doesn't need applause, and happiness that doesn't need permission. That's what focusing on yourself truly means. It's not isolation, it's elevation. It's choosing your growth over your comfort. It's prioritizing your future over your fears. It's the quiet, patient, consistent work that transforms you into someone even you didn't know you could be. And once you experience that transformation, you'll never chase validation again, because you'll realize that you've become the very thing you were waiting for all along. There's something powerful about working in silence. When you stop announcing every plan, every goal, every small victory, you create space for something deeper. Focus. Real focus. The kind that doesn't need recognition or applause to survive. You stop performing your growth for the world and start living it for yourself. Because the truth is, every great transformation happens away from the spotlight. The world sees the glow up, the success, the achievements. But it never sees the quiet nights, the frustration, the discipline, the times you wanted to give up but didn't. The real work, the real evolution, happens when no one is watching. Building in private is an act of maturity. It's choosing progress over attention. It's choosing patience over performance. You start to realize that talking about your plans doesn't bring them to life. Action does. You don't need to prove that you're working. You need to work until it's impossible to ignore. The most powerful version of you is not the one constantly announcing your moves. It's the one who moves in silence, focused, steady, and relentless. There's a certain energy that comes with privacy. When you no longer feel the need to explain every step, your mind clears. The distractions fade. You stop worrying about who's watching or judging. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. And suddenly, you start to see your own pace, your own rhythm. You begin to understand that your path doesn't need validation. It needs consistency. Every day becomes a quiet competition with who you were yesterday, not with the world. And here's the irony: when you start working quietly, the results get louder. People will start to notice your glow, your progress, your calm confidence. They'll ask what changed, but you won't have to say much, because results speak a language that explanations never can. Silence protects your energy, but results amplify your message. The difference is that one happens internally, and the other happens naturally as a byproduct of your dedication. You don't have to chase recognition when you're too busy becoming someone worth recognizing. There's also something deeply spiritual about creating in silence. It's you, your vision, and your discipline. Nothing else. You don't need approval because you've already decided that your purpose is bigger than their opinions. You wake up and put in the work because you know what you're building. Even if no one else can see it yet, you become addicted to the process, not the praise. And that's where mastery begins, in the repetition, in the stillness, in the hours spent refining your craft when no one cares yet. That's where greatness is born, in the quiet. But make no mistake, working in silence is not easy. It demands faith. You have to believe in results that haven't shown up yet, in rewards that no one promised, in dreams that still look distant. You have to hold that vision in your mind when it feels like nothing is happening. And that's what separates the average from the exceptional. Most people quit when the applause fades. They lose motivation when no one's watching. But the few who keep going, who keep building behind closed doors, they become unstoppable because their motivation isn't external. It's rooted in something far deeper. It's rooted in purpose. When you build in silence, you also protect yourself from unnecessary pressure. The moment you announce your goals to everyone, you invite opinions, expectations, and doubt. People will project their fears onto your dreams. They'll tell you it's unrealistic, too hard, too late. And if you're not strong enough, those words will start to echo in your head. But when you stay quiet, you keep your vision sacred. You keep your energy clean. You give yourself space to fail privately, to adjust, to grow without judgment. You learn, you evolve, you come back stronger. And when the time is right, your results do the talking. There's a quiet satisfaction in showing up unannounced and surprising everyone with who you've become. Not out of revenge, not to prove them wrong, but because your growth was never meant to be public entertainment. It was meant to be personal evolution. And when people finally notice, when they finally see what you've been building, it won't be because you told them. It'll be because your transformation became undeniable. That's the power of silence. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting what's still under construction. Working in private also teaches you humility. It reminds you that success isn't a performance. It's a practice. You learn to fall in love with the small, invisible wins, the early mornings, the disciplined nights, the quiet improvements no one claps for. You stop seeking the dopamine rush of attention and start embracing the slow burn of progress. That's where confidence grows, not from being seen, but from knowing you're becoming better even when no one notices. And when the results finally show, they carry a different weight. They're not just achievements. They're proof of your consistency, your patience, your resilience. You don't need to explain how you did it because the work speaks for itself. The same people who doubted you will look at you in awe, but you won't feel the need to boast. Because by then, you've outgrown the need for validation. You'll understand that real fulfillment doesn't come from being admired. It comes from knowing you kept your promise to yourself. Building in private is how you create a life that's rooted, not fragile. Because when you build quietly, there's no one to please, no one to impress. Just the quiet satisfaction of becoming who you're meant to be. You're not rushing anymore. You're growing with intention. You're not shouting about your progress. You're living it. You're not performing success. You're embodying it. And that's what makes your results shine so brightly when they finally appear, because they're built on truth, not attention. So, you keep your head down. You stay consistent. You let the noise fade into the background, because you know that every silent step forward is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. One day when you look back, you'll realize that all those quiet hours, all that unseen effort, all that patient silence, that's what built everything you now have. The world may have been silent while you worked, but when your results arrive, they'll make all the noise you'll ever need. Your energy is the most valuable currency you possess, and yet most people spend it carelessly. They pour it into arguments that go nowhere, relationships that drain them, and habits that rob them of peace. They give their attention, their emotion, their focus to everything around them, and then wonder why they feel so empty. Protecting your energy isn't about cutting people off or becoming cold. It's about finally recognizing that not everything and everyone deserves access to you. It's about understanding that your time, your peace, and your focus are sacred. And when you start treating them in that way, your entire life begins to change. There comes a point when you realize that your energy shapes your reality. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, every emotion you hold onto. It all creates the environment you live in. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, chaos, and noise, that's what your inner world will reflect. But when you start protecting your energy, you begin filtering what you allow in. You choose peace over proving a point. You choose silence over reaction. You choose distance over drama. And suddenly, your life starts to feel lighter. You're no longer drowning in the noise of everyone else's chaos. You're standing in your own calm. You start to notice that some people only come around when they need something. Some conversations drain you more than they feed you. Some environments feel heavy no matter how long you stay. Protecting your energy means being honest about that. It means walking away, not out of bitterness, but out of self-awareness. You don't owe everyone your time. You don't have to explain why you're unavailable. You're simply learning that your peace is more important than their approval. That's not selfish. That's maturity. When you guard your energy, you also become more selective about what you consume. You pay attention to what you feed your mind, the content you scroll through, the voices you listen to, the things you allow to shape your mood. Because everything you consume becomes a seed in your subconscious. The more negativity you absorb, the harder it becomes to think clearly. But when you start surrounding yourself with inspiration, discipline, and calm, your perspective sharpens. You start attracting the same kind of energy you give out. Focused, grounded, and intentional, you begin to understand that protecting your energy isn't just about who's around you. It's about what you allow to live inside you. It's a quiet transformation, one that often goes unnoticed. People might call you distant. They might say you've changed, but that's because they no longer have the same access to you that they once did. And that's okay. Growth demands distance. Healing requires boundaries. When you start choosing your peace over people pleasing, those who benefited from your chaos will try to guilt you back into it. They'll say you're different, colder, detached. But what they're really saying is, you've stopped feeding me your energy. And they're right. You have. Because now that energy belongs to your goals, your healing, your purpose. Protecting your energy also teaches you how to respond with intention. You stop reacting to every comment, every rumor, every slight insult. You realize that not everything deserves your response, and not everyone deserves your explanation. Silence becomes your strategy, peace becomes your armor. You start choosing where to place your emotional investment carefully because you understand that attention is energy. And the more attention you give to negativity, the more power it gains over you. So you stop feeding the noise. You stop engaging in battles that drain your spirit. You learn to walk away not because you're weak, but because you've finally learned your worth. There's a deep calm that comes from knowing you can handle chaos without becoming chaotic yourself. You start to trust yourself more. Your decisions, your instincts, your emotions. You realize that you don't need to match anyone's energy. You can control your own. You stop letting other people's behavior dictate your mood. You stop allowing their drama to infiltrate your peace. You become the calm in the storm instead of getting swept away by it. That's real power. The kind that doesn't come from control over others, but control over yourself. And something magical happens when you live this way. The more you protect your energy, the more life rewards you with clarity. You start attracting people who respect your boundaries. You meet opportunities that align with your vibration. You stop forcing connections because you understand that what's meant for you will never require you to lower your energy to keep it. You begin to flow instead of forcing. You learn that peace is not the absence of problems, but the ability to remain centered while facing them. Protecting your energy also means letting go of guilt. For too long, you might have felt bad for saying no, for disappointing others, for choosing solitude, for walking away from situations that don't serve you. But guilt fades when you realize that saying no to them means saying yes to yourself. Every boundary you set is an act of self-love. Every moment you choose rest over reaction, clarity over chaos, you honor your growth. You understand that peace is not something you find. It's something you create, protect, and maintain. Eventually, you stop chasing what disturbs your energy. You stop seeking closure from chaos. You stop trying to fix what's not yours to fix. You realize that peace doesn't require explanation. It just requires consistency. You start spending your energy only on things that nourish you. Your health, your dreams, your relationships that feel safe and mutual. You no longer let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You start living with intention, not impulse. The world doesn't teach this kind of discipline easily. It teaches reaction, not reflection. It teaches noise, not stillness. But when you master your energy, you start to see how different life feels. You stop waking up tired from fighting invisible battles. You stop overthinking every interaction. You stop letting people pull you into their storms. because you've learned that your peace is priceless. And once you experience it, you'll never trade it for anything again. So you stay grounded, guarded, graceful. You protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. Everything you build, everything you become flows from it. And when your energy is steady, your life begins to move with purpose. You're no longer reactive, you're intentional. You're no longer drained, you're directed. You're no longer seeking peace. You are peace. And that's the kind of power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to fight. It simply exists, calm and unshakable, radiating from within. So now, it's your turn. Stop giving away your energy to things that don't matter. Stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. Stop chasing validation and start building your life quietly with focus, discipline, and intention. Protect your peace. Focus on your growth. Work in silence and let your results speak louder than your words. Take a moment today, right now, to ask yourself, what is draining my energy? Where am I giving away my power? What can I do to focus fully on myself, to protect my peace, and to build quietly toward my goals? The answers are your roadmap. Start small, start now, but start. Your life will only change when you decide to become the person you were meant to be, not for anyone else, but for yourself. So go ahead, be silent, focus on yourself, protect your energy, and work relentlessly. Watch how the world starts to rearrange itself around the new, unstoppable version of you. The power is already inside you. All you have to do is claim it today. Protect your peace. Focus on yourself. Build in silence. Your future self will thank you.